Try to.
All right, and we're gonna keep it really informal too. So we don't got to put up a front for anybody. Keep it real informal. Keep it real chill. Oh, the IO drop. I think he dropped. He'll be back. But what's up, YouTube? Some of us Splunk engineers are getting together to go through a quick working session. Somebody was having some issues trying to troubleshoot some things. I believe it was related to access. So we're just going to go around, troubleshoot it, help them out. At the same time, learn some cool Splunk skills. Just an FYI, most of the people, if not everybody on this Zoom session with us, they are in our Splunk Engineer course. Hey, you can go ahead and reshare IO. Most of the people that will be joining us are in a Splunk Engineer course, right? They are going through different projects right now when it comes to onboarding data, managing that data, making sure that we have some type of visibility into the data feed and ensuring that the whole process is done effectively in an organized manner so that it can be replicated elsewhere. All right, so if you were interested in the Splunk Engineer course, just hit us up at olinesecurity.com. You can drop a comment on this YouTube video. It is definitely available to the public. All right, so with the issue we were having with before, you mind if I take control? And Zoe, Io, and anybody else who joins us, let me know if you have any questions.
Can you see
When we're
the screen?
going through the, yeah, I can see.
All right.
Did I get control? Yeah. All right, so the issue you were having earlier, we talked about it. But if I go over to my system Etsy local directory, we're going to have a file in here called the user-seed.conf file, right? This file shouldn't exist anymore though, right? This shouldn't exist, but what you were trying to do was update your passwords, your admin password through this file. Now, this isn't the file we want to update passwords inside of, right? Because the user-seed.conf file was only used to create users during startup, right? That Splunk is starting up. So what's supposed to really happen after you start Splunk up, this file is supposed to be deleted. Okay, it's supposed to be deleted. Like we said earlier, you stop Splunk, make a change to this file, then you start it back up. It's going to read this file, create that user with the creds, and it should remove this, but it's still here, which is fine. Now, if you did want to change your password, obviously you can go in here, settings. I mean, actually under here, you go under account settings and change your password. If you wanted to do it from the back end, right, you would have to edit this file. Right, these are where your credits stored. Admin, this is your password that you typed in, but it's being hashed. So you would have to create a new password and hash it, and then add the hash here. Right, and Splunk does have commands that you can take your clear text password and transform it into a hash, convert it to a ciphertext. All right, and the last thing we were talking about, remember when you want to run Splunk commands, if you wanted to run Splunk start, it's not going to work like this, right? Because we have to execute the command from the directory it lives within, right? Unless you have some symbolic links going on or some type of bash shortcuts that you have. But if you're just trying to run the normal Splunk command, you have to be inside of that directory. Does anybody remember what that directory is?
The directory to do what? The run Splunk?
Yeah.
It's in the bin directory.
Right. So if we wanted to run it from where we are right now we're under Etsy system local. If we want to run it from where we are, we need the full path, ops Splunk, bin, and then whatever command we want to run. If we want to just use Splunk as is, then you have to be in that directory. So then we have to CD over to ops Splunk bin. And now we can use Splunk. But since it's a binary, you need this before Splunk. All right, so just simple troubleshooting stuff. Anything that y'all wanted to go over? Or we had a few minutes?
No, I'm good. Let me see.
How you liking it so far?
Oh, I'm loving it. Like I said, because working with Splunk as an analyst, but seeing how the data and how like our permissions and whatnot is actually given to us for the analysts to be able to do investigations, see it on the engineer side and the backside, how we are able to interact with it. Like it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's cool how it works. Like this magic behind it is not so much magic anymore.
Mm.
What part of the class are you in, Zoe?
I'm in the introduction to data ingestion now, so I'm about to start onboarding the data.
Ooh, that boy about to start onboarding some data.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You're gonna onboard data. So you're gonna do it manually from the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna create some Splunk apps to help manage all the data that you're onboarding, to help manage the data you're onboarding and the other configuration files that you're using to parse out that data. Splunk has a list of config files. All right, we all know it's a bunch of them. And it's attached in a course, but you can easily Google it. List of configuration files. Yeah, I still don't see you on Discord. And then these are all the configuration files that they have. Right, that might be missing one or two. I don't think the user-seed.conf file is in here. But all these files that you may or may not use, we use some of these. We're going to use the props.conf file in the class. We're going to use transforms.conf file in the class. We might be using lookups, definitely indexes, inputs, all these things we need to onboard data. Right. Eventually you're going to have, yeah, we took a look at the authentication, authorize.conf. Remember, this is where your roles were at, so.
Yeah, the authorize.conf and authentication, how you authenticate into Splunk.
Check you out. That boy knows something.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet.
It's okay. Your time's coming, man. Where you at? You just started Splunk up?
Yeah, so I downloaded it, started up, created the admin password and stuff, and that was where I messed things up, trying to change it.
Now I like what you did though, because you just wanted to see what else you could do with that feature, right? Because
Yeah.
the way we started Splunk up, let me see, the command that we used was here it is. So this is the command that you used to start Splunk up.
Yep.
Right, so you bypass. So this is saying, hey, accept the license agreement. Don't give me a prompt, right? Especially the prompt to supply the admin credentials. And just accept my answer as yes. I think there's supposed to be another dash somewhere. Something looks off a bit, but
Oh, it's by in front of the answer. It's supposed to be 2-.
so this is gonna bypass the admin credentials. That's why we needed that user-seed.conf file, because when we do this, we tell Splunk, hey, we're not giving you an admin. We're not giving you any login credentials, right? We told you not to ask us for login credentials. So we have to go and manually create it with the user-seed.conf file. Right. And all of this, honestly, in the advanced engineer course that that's coming out, all of this is scripted. Okay, all of this is scripted. If you have 100 machines that you need to install Splunk on, you're not doing this right here manually 100 times. We're gonna throw all of this inside of a script, right? It'll be like, You would have your wget command to go ahead and download Splunk, right? Then you have your tar command to go ahead and extract Splunk, right? That's Splunk.tar file into the op directory. Is it O or C? I think it's C. And then what do we do after we tar Splunk? We could start Splunk now, right? That's when you do your accept the license, no prompt. Sir, yes. After you accept Splunk, and literally you just have these commands one by one in a line, right? And your script will run through each of those commands. After you accept the Splunk, what do? We opened up the user-seed.conf file, made changes, added the admin user, added a password for it, right? You wouldn't write it out like this in the script. You would probably have some EOF thingy going on here. Then after you do that, wait, you got to stop Splunk first. Then you're going to start Splunk back up. And boom, this script, this isn't the real script, obviously, but you would take a script like this and just have it run on 100 different systems, right? You could even use a tool like Ansible to push this script out. Or you could use a tool like Ansible to go through the install process. But we're going to do that in the advanced course. We're going to script everything out to install on multiple systems, because we're going to create a clustered environment and manage that clustered environment, onboard data into that clustered environment the same way we do it here, but there are going to be more settings in a clustered environment, more configuration files we have to use. But yeah, man, I can't wait till y'all finish this class.
Hey,
I cannot wait.
Quick question.
No. Ain't no questions from Lonzo Williams. We don't take no questions from no Lonzo Williams around here, man.
I remember.
I said no questions, Lonzo. I thought we was playing, man. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with this guy, man? What you talking about? I psych now. What's up, Zach?
Oh shoot. So let me just so when anytime we make any like editing to files and whatnot, I remember you saying it's best practice should always run the shown command so that Splunk knows once it's restarted back up that it knows like the changes that were made so that it can read it. Like anytime we make a change to a file.
Exactly.
Right.
And everybody on YouTube right now, don't make fun of me because I'm using Nano. I'm not a Nano guy. Uh-oh, what happened to your screen? I'm not a Nano guy. Vim just breaks in this virtual machine right here. But yeah, Zoe's right. You want to make sure that Splunk, right? This is Splunk's directory right here. We have it under /op. You don't have to have it here, right? Companies can do whatever they want. You want to make sure Splunk owns every file under this directory. Because if it doesn't, you'll have issues where Splunk can't use that file. So for instance, how far are you guys? All right, so watch this. This user-seed.conf file. What does Splunk do with this file? What's inside of this file that Splunk needs to read and use?
The admin credentials.
Credentials. All right, so that means Splunk needs to have read permission to this file. It does. It can read it. Splunk, right? Splunk is the owner. Splunk is the group.
Quick
Splunk
question.
Go ahead.
If you're already in the Splunk user, like as you can see, doesn't that mean that you can read it as Splunk?
Yeah, yeah, you can. So, and I know 1 second. Yeah, you can, right? You're the Splunk reader user right now. We are Splunk, so we can read this file. If I exit out of this file, out of this user, I'm no longer Splunk. I'm under your account. I can't. Oh, that's because I'm sudo. Hold on. Let's do this. Open up a new terminal. We shouldn't be able to read this file because you're not the Splunk user or the Splunk group. But for some reason, you can read that file. Let's see why. Oh, because everybody can read it. No, that's okay. All right, this last R is for anybody to be able to read it. But if we change that, I really don't want to change it right now, but. So here, I'll give you another example. I don't want to change that. Let's sudo echo test file. Splunk SE system local new file.conf. I did it as sudo. New file.txt. So I'm just going to create a new file. All right, call it new file.txt. Let's just add some stuff to it. Now, who owns this file? All right, you see how I use this -L switch just to show me the permissions. You can see who owns this file, who can read this file. Well, everybody can read it. I'm going to change that. So everybody can't read it. It'll just be 770. All right, so only IO can interact with this file. So if we switch, if I move this, and I might need your help, IO, to move this, sudo move. If I copy this over to Splunk's local directory, type your password, please. All right, so we just copied this file we just created. All right, let's look at the permissions. We just created this file and we copied it over to Splunk's directory. Look at the permissions on the file though. IO is the owner, IO is the group. Everyone else cannot do anything with this file. Okay, no one else can interact with this file. What if this was a file that Splunk needed? If Splunk needed that file, just like it needs the user-seed.conf file, Splunk needs this file. So when it starts up, it's going to try to open this file. It's going to try to read it. If it can't read this file, then it won't be able to create that user for you. If Splunk can't read this file, then it can't create certain important settings for you, like set your SSL passwords and certificates, right? What if Splunk needed this file? It can't read it. Right. So what Zoe was asking, we did all that to illustrate what Zoe's question was. Zoe's asking, when you make changes to a file within this Splunk directory, you need to make sure Splunk has access to that file, because we can make changes to files I can make changes to that user-seed.conf file. If I type the right command, we can make changes, new changes by me as sudo, also known as root. Okay. All right, cool. It didn't change the permissions. It didn't change the ownership of that file. But if this user-seed file didn't exist, I'm going to remove it because you don't need it. Actually, I'll make a copy of it first, and then I'll remove it. All right, that file is gone. Right, it's no longer there anymore. Right, I'm going to create it. New file, testing. Look at this. Can Splunk do anything with this file? Do y'all think Splunk can read this file right here?
From looks of it, nope.
No. Who can read it?
The root.
Only root can, well. Splunk can read it, but if we change that to 660, then Splunk wouldn't be able to read it. Right now, Splunk can't read it. Nobody
Okay,
can read it,
Mhm.
right? Because we took that read feature away. Only they can read it. So if you were to start Splunk up, you're gonna have an issue. Splunk won't be able to create your new users in here. So how do you give it the permission? Same thing Zoe said. You just chown. It's easier to chown the entire directory. Like that.
Okay.
You're gonna use the chown command, but you gotta run sudo before it. So you're gonna chown. That means change ownership. This -R means I want you to change ownership of every folder under Splunk, all of the folders. If I don't do -R, it's only gonna change the ownership of what's under only this stuff that's under Splunk. It's not gonna go into the bin folder. It's not gonna go into the Etsy folder. It's not gonna go into the other folders if I don't do the -R. Right? That's recursive. It's going to recursively search within all the folders. Cool. So we just run chown, sudo chown -R. We tell it the owner, the new owner, the new group, and then the directory. Now you'll see that Splunk owns everything again. Right? Could you specifically chown this file? Yeah, I just don't feel like it. I just want to chown everything. Splunk should own everything here. I know that, right? Other organizations, Splunk may not own everything under there, so you got to be careful, right? Look at the ownership first, right? Some people, some companies, Splunk user account won't be called Splunk. It might be called something else, like service account this, service account that. So before you do Splunk, make sure this is the right account name. Hey, that was a dope question, though. I'll give you that one, man. You weren't allowed to ask any questions, but I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. All right. Oh, snap, my bad. I'm on full screen. I thought that was my screen.
No, that's fine.
Trying to check YouTube, make sure nobody has any questions. Any other questions, y'all?
I'm sure I'll have some later down the line.
Yeah, I'm good right now.
All right, just make sure it's during, we taking questions at that time, okay? Yeah, we may not be taking questions at that time. No, it might be nap time. It might be football Sunday. Never know.
And that's what I'm gonna ask you too.
Yeah, I hope the Buccaneers playing when you ask me too. I hope the Buccaneers are playing. All right, y'all. I'm about to shut this down, man.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing your screen, Io.
All right, y'all.
Take care, guys.
All right, my fellow engineers.